Hey guys, welcome to The Practical Place. In our last video, we talked about some of the very basics of Microsoft Excel. So we opened the app, we looked at what a cell is, where's the formula bar, what are some of the features within Excel, and we specifically talked about formatting a cell as well as the auto sum feature. This video, we're going to be scratching a little bit more of the surface, getting our toes wet in some of the formulas and functions, if you will. They're going to be very basic, some of the sum, average, things like that. So if you're excited like I'm excited, get your coffee, get your computer, and let's get into it. Let's go. Okay, so we have Excel pulled up and I already have a small table of data that I want to use some of these functions on. Now, functions are very helpful to you whenever you want to automate any processes or analysis that you need to do on any project that you're working on, from personal to professional. I have a list of a few functions that I want to go over. And you can think of functions like formulas that are going to do specific tasks for you, right? You're going to give it a job to do and it's going to automate that process. Anyways, I want to see year over year the number of cells as it relates to a certain shoe size. So I have size 10, size 11, and size 12 for the years 2020, 21, and 22. What I'm going to do with this is I want to first start off by figuring out the sum total of each year over year for all three sizes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the cell where I want this value to populate, and I'm going to start entering. So anytime you want to enter a function or a formula, I kind of use those words interchangeably. I think the technical term is function, but you can say formula as well, to each their own, right? So anytime you want to start a function, you want to start with the equal sign. That's going to signal to Excel that you want to use a function. You're going to start entering the argument for that function. So I want to type in enter and then start typing in the name of the function I want to start using. So sum is the name of that. So sum, you start typing, and as you can see, it's going to start auto-populating options for you. And as you hover over this, you can see that it says, or as it's selecting it, and you can start to go down with your keypad, it'll tell you, adds all the numbers of a range of cells. If you want to select this function, you can either tab over, which is what I do a lot, or you can use your mouse and double click it. So I just double clicked it. Let me go back and show you. If you just hit tab, it's going to want you to start your argument. I want to get the sum total of all the cells of size 10, size 11, and size 12 for the year 2020. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the cell range that I want to summarize and select enter. So as you can see here, 300 plus 200 plus 250 is going to be 750, right? So that's going to automate that process. So whenever you're referencing certain cells in Excel for a function, you want to keep in mind two terms. There's relative reference and then there's an absolute reference. So relative reference is relative to the cell you picked. It's going to move based on if you copy and paste that formula somewhere else. Meaning, let's say I want to do the same exact thing I did for 2020, for 21, and 22. So what I can do is at the bottom right of the cell that I just entered in that function, I can click right here until I get this cursor change, click, and I can drag it over to the sections that I want to summarize. If I let it go, you can see it changed, right? So it's not fixed to 2020, but it's relative to the other cells that I'm underneath, right? If I wanted it to stay fixed on the set of data that I originally selected, you're going to have to enter in a couple of dollar signs. So what you want to do is you want to double click on the cell of your function. You're going to do a dollar sign here in front of the column reference and then as well as a row reference. So that's going to say I want it to stay on E5 through E7. I don't want it to move. Now, if you were to keep it only in front of the column, it's going to stay fixed to the column, but it's going to move on the rows, right? It's going to be relative to the rows. Let's enter that in. And now let's drag it over. So as you can see here, it's moved over to the years relative to the cell that it's on. Now let's go back to the original one where I added these dollar signs and I'm going to click and drag over. And as you can see, it went back to 750 because this is called an absolute reference. So I want it to stay fixed on the original set of data that I selected or the range that I selected. So if I double click on this, it's going to show me, hey, we're referencing E5 through E7, which you originally selected. In a case like this, I don't want to do that. There are some cases where you'll start to figure out you want to do that. There's projects I'm working on where I do that all the time and I need to stay fixed on a certain high level set of data throughout my entire metric sheet or whatever I'm working on. So let's get rid of all these. Enter. I'm going to click and drag back over here. There you go. So as you can see, in 2020, 750 in cells, in 2021, 1,500, and then in 2022, 13,800. So obviously did pretty great year over year. Now let's switch over to average. What I want to do is I want to see the average dollar of sales year over year for only size 10. So I'm going to go over to the right here in the H column and I'm going to enter equal and I'm going to start typing in average. That's the one I want to use. I'm going to tab over. I'm going to select this range of cells here, E5 through G5, enter. Again, this is a relative reference. As I click and drag down, it's gonna do it for size 11 and then for size 12. Click and drag here. So the average sell that I had year over year is about $4,300. If I wanted to budget and project for the future, maybe I could do it that way. But this is gonna give me an average number of sells for this selected sell range that I just picked. Another way to check this that I showed you in the last video is you can highlight the range of cells you selected for your formula, and you can come down to the bottom right. The average here is 4,300, and if you go to the output that we got, it's 4,300 as well. Same thing here, it's 466.67, 466.67. And I want to do the same thing with the min and the max. So whenever you're using min and max, this is if you have a large data set and you want to be able to understand what was the minimum number and what was the maximum number out of that data set that I'm picking and selecting, that range. And so I can do the same here. This is a small set of data, but imagine if you had hundreds of rows or hundreds of columns that you needed to filter through and look through. You didn't want to search, line by line. This really helps automate that process. So let's say, what was our worst year of sales for size 10? I can say enter min, because it's going to give me the minimum amount, min, tab, and then select, and it should be 300, and it's giving me 300, right? Same thing here. This is going to give me 200 because that's the lowest, and then 250. Now let's say I want to do max equals max, tab over, select my data set, enter, and it shows me, let's do this actually so we can get a good side by side. Max, tab over, select. So there you go. You can see my lowest year, I had $300 in sales for size 10, but my highest year was $1,200. So you can see this variance, right? So as you can see, functions and formulas in Excel make calculations a breeze. Whether you're using large data sets or small data sets, it's going to help you automate your processes so that you can get things done in a quicker, more effective way. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. We talked about a couple of simple functions, sum, average, min, and max. I would encourage you to continue to practice in your own personal life, on your own personal projects, whether that be budgeting or even using it in your own workplace, testing and trying things out until you become more confident with it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Give me a comment with any feedback or things you would like to see, and I'd be happy to do that for you guys. Thank you for joining The Practical Place today, and have a good day.